Is learning Chinese actually as difficult as you imagine? Having learned Chinese and even having lived in China for several years, I would like to share my personal experience and opinion with you guys. When you first start learning Chinese, it might look extremely complicated and even a little bit intimidating. But actually, once you have mastered the basics, it's not even that difficult. Now, almost all Chinese learners, beginners, will start from the basics. They will start with ni hao, some very easy and simple vocabulary, and also start off by learning the characters. For example, ni hao. This is also actually the crucial point in learning Chinese. At this stage, you need to invest a lot of dedication and also time to memorize all the new vocabulary and also the characters. Practicing the new vocabulary and reviewing it on a regular basis helped me to remember it faster. Also, if you start writing the characters, it helps to remember the shape and the character itself. Having to write the characters actually sounds even more complicated, but I personally realized after starting to write the characters, I remembered them more quickly. Once you get to a solid knowledge of characters and a decent amount of vocabulary, you will start to realize that some vocabulary and some characters sound the same. Now we're getting to the most difficult point in learning Chinese, in my opinion. It is actually not the characters itself. It is not the vocabulary. It is not the grammar. It's the pronunciation. If you want to pronounce a character correctly, it requires a lot of attention and also a very profound knowledge of all the characters actually. For example, there are some characters that sound extremely similar, but just by changing the pronunciation, you are actually changing the meaning of the word completely. Some Chinese characters, differently pronounced, may have 2, 3, 4, 6, or even more meanings to them. Now, honestly speaking, in the first, let's say, 1 year, in the first year of learning Chinese, it's all dedication and hard work. It's practicing, it's learning the new characters, it's remembering them, it's practicing the pronunciation, and so on. But after this first year, you will start to realize that all of it starts making sense. You will start to realize that remembering and learning new vocabulary and characters becomes easier and faster. You will start using the vocabulary in sentences, and you will start having simple conversations. And that leads us to a point where Chinese is very different from English or other European languages. In the beginning, if you start learning English, French, German, it seems to be not that difficult, not that different. But with time, once you get to sentences, once you add some grammar, it gets more and more difficult. Chinese, I would say, is exactly the opposite. It's exactly the other way around. In the very beginning, you might think that everything is completely new and complicated and difficult, but once you get a very solid basis and you get to the later stages of improving yourself, of using the Chinese and of using sentences and grammar, you will start feeling that it's actually not that difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, if you want to get to a very, very good level of Chinese, you will still have to put in a lot of work and you will still have to learn for many years. For myself, after having learned Chinese for 1.5 hours each time, 2 times a week for 2 years, I went to China for the first time. And after some initial difficulties, I realized that it was already on an okay level to speak with the locals, to have some basic conversations. I spent around about 4 months in China studying and traveling, and I realized within this 4 months my level of Chinese increased really rapidly. I feel like having learned Chinese already for around about 2 years and having already mastered the basics, a solid basis of Chinese, and then going to China was a really, really good strategy for me because it helped me to improve very quickly. Of course, 2 years does sound like a long time, but if you're willing to spend the time and if you have enough dedication and motivation, of course, you can do it much faster. I would say if you spend the 15 minutes each day practicing vocabulary, characters, pronunciation, then you might get to a very decent level in 1 year of time or even half a year. Summarizing, I would say learning Chinese in the beginning is a little difficult. You need to invest time, you need to be dedicated, you need to be motivated, but in general, I would say it's not as difficult as everybody thinks, as everybody imagines. I would say learning Chinese really brought me a lot and widened my horizons, but I will speak in another video about the benefits of learning Chinese. What is your opinion on today's topic? What is your impression about learning Chinese and the Chinese language? Do you think it's difficult? Would you like to learn it? Let me know in the comments below. That's all for today's video. I hope my experience and my opinion is useful for you. If you liked today's video, then don't forget to leave a like below the video, comment and subscribe to our channel if you would like to see more interesting content about Chinese, other languages, cultures, and so on. As always, thank you for watching. Bye for now and see you in the next video.